Hey everybody, good evening. You guys, I have a good video for everyone today. Not only is this going to be an entertaining and educational video on the 5.56 and 2.23 caliber, very similar, but they have their differences. And I'm going to be talking about this here Mossberg MVP, which was a target rifle that I sought out for myself about, oh, I was somewhere halfway in college when I bought this, so it's been about 8 or 9 years ago. And you guys, it's been an outstanding rifle, and I'm going to talk about this rifle and show you some targets and some different types of ammunition back here that I have. And then I also have a Bible study today on the resurrection. So just stick around. I want to give you an Old Testament perspective of the resurrection, and then also kind of reaffirm that with what Paul teaches in the book of Corinthians. So, without further ado, let me just say that, yeah, I was about, 3 or 4 years into Bible college, and I decided that I wanted to do some target shooting. I used to do riflery in ROTC in high school, which was really the only reason why I was in ROTC. Uh, and I decided to pick up this rifle. I went to an Academy Sports at one point, and they had this gun. Now, you're not going to see another one like it. It's been modified. Like the stock, I actually drilled holes and dremeled all this, and it's been shellacked. You can see the job that I've done on it there, but it's real solid, and I made it lighter weight. And also the original version, it doesn't come to a V right here. It came a little bit further out. I actually chopped it down because I wanted the rifle to be lightweight. I wanted a target rifle, or at least target rifle accuracy, but I didn't want all the weight that heavy, beautiful laminate wood stock uh, pretty much put on the rifle. Now, what I will say about this rifle on the positive side, it's it has decent accuracy. I wouldn't say it's like true match grade, but it's definitely very accurate rifle. I'm going to show you targets here in a minute. Yeah, it has a 24-inch barrel. It has the Picatinny Weaver style top mounts up here. I have Grand Slam steel rings on it, and this scope, it's nothing fancy. It's about a $120 Tasco, but it's 24 power by 6 by 24, and I think it had oh, I'm not sure. I can't remember if this is a 40 millimeter objective lens, but the scope, it holds a zero. It's done great for the last 7 or 8 years, which is about how long I believe I've had this rifle. So, for the time being, it's what I'm going to use. Uh, it probably would be the right choice to replace that with like a Burris or a Leupold or, some of these new brands that are coming out that are really good. So, there's lots of good scopes out there. But anyways, I'm sure I put blue Loctite in the rings and treated it just like I would a 308. And I know I have everything uh, tightened down properly. It's a very accurate rifle, you guys. If I put like a half dollar at 100 yards right now, first shot would hit it with my green can match grade that I make. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, so here's one of the interesting things about the Mossberg MVP. It actually takes AR-15 magazines. Now, this is just a little, this is either a 10 or 15 rounder, I can't remember. But as you see, it's marked 5.56 on there, and on the little plastic follower there. And but it will take a 30 round or a 40 round AR-15 magazine. And how they get away with that is, you see the bolt has a pretty bolt there with the little grooves cut into it. And if you hold the trigger, actually on this model they have a little release lever, if you can see it right there. If you hold that down, the bolt actually comes out. And if you notice on this bolt, it has that little piece right there on the bottom. And that little piece that hangs down, is it's on a spring, has spring tension. And that little piece is actually what comes over the top. And I don't know if you can kind of see that, but that scrapes around off channel of the AR-15 style, like the original Armalite Colt style magazines there. So it's a nifty little design, and it works fairly well. I will say it tends to prefer the 10, 10 or 20 or 15 round mags if you can find them over the 30 round, because all the tension of the 30 round kind of sometimes those first few, it's pretty tight pushing it forward. And although this little part on the bottom there, although it's never broken, I do suspect that little piece that's spring loaded, I do suspect that's a weak point on the bolt. So although it seems to do just fine, it's a interesting design. It's different. I've put about 400 to 600 rounds through this rifle, and I'm gonna go ahead and let the trigger down slowly. By, I took the tension off the bolt already just then, but the trigger. Let me show you something. I just put tension back on. You see that little lightning bolt in the trigger there? That's just like a Savage AccuTrigger, but it's Mossberg's design. And this is North Haven, Connecticut, USA 5.56 NATO MVP series. This does have the fluted 24-inch barrel. It is completely free floated, as you can see. It's completely free floated. And let me show you the accuracy here that I was getting out of this rifle. Now I have different ammo types here, and I'm going to go over that. It's been a good rifle. Let me just say, here's poor accuracy out of it. This is 100 yards, and each little square is an inch. So this Perfecta that was made by Fiocchi, I mean that's within an inch right there. Tula and Monarch, both Russian and Red Army Standard, did terrible up there. So this is what I was getting out of it with cheap ammo, and this is just bench rest shooting. This wasn't trying to, pull a super group. But then when I started getting MagTech, this here is just ball M193 ball, 55 grain. These are standard ball ammo, but it's a good little bullet, full metal jacket. And my little match reloads, boy, they do well. I use 24.8 grains of accurate 2230 on a 55 grain MagTech. And as you can see there, there's 68 in this can, so I put 68X. But these little match grade reloads I make, and when I say match grade, I weigh out the powder to a 20th of a grain, and every bullet's seated the same. And I use a small Magnum rifle primer. I actually use a Magnum rifle primer on these. But with this ammo, let me show you what I'm getting. So here's my reloads. 24.8 grains, accurate 2230. Now, you can see I kind of have a flyer on each little group here, but normally I get these little, better stacks. And I have better targets somewhere, but this is real data, right? This is just your average group. But this Mossberg MVP, it's been a real good rifle. I want to give a shout out to this ADI World Class. This is some match ammo, boat tail stuff. 55 grain Sierra Blitz King is what they're reloading here. And this ammo actually comes in packets that are nitrogen sealed with these little Blitz King, points that can be used for hunting. But they give you 2 little decks of it in here. And I'm pretty sure this stuff here was probably $1 a shot or a little more. So you're looking at $20 plus per box. Sometimes you could buy in bulk and get it on sale a few years ago when I was getting it. But this stuff right here does, 0.75 inch groups, 3/4 inch groups all day. And it'll do better. It'll do half MOA out of this rifle. I would say maybe 1 out of 2 groups is probably half MOA. This was really good stuff. So if you just want a good store-bought ammunition, if you can find this ADI World Class, this stuff's made in Australia. Actually says that on the front. But really good stuff. So something to keep an eye out. Also, I have this Hornady, and this here is this zombie stuff, right? It's a 40 grain AMAX premium polymer tip that's doing 3,700 feet per second. And I would venture to say it might be closer to 4,000 out of this 24-inch barrel. I need to get a chrono on it. But this stuff right here is just, this is this is some stuff, some hot 40 grain ammunition that is touching close to 4,000 FPS. So I haven't tested that in this rifle yet. So my next range trip, I'm going to need to do that because I'm just curious if the twist rate on this rifle will stabilize that bullet. So that'll be something for a future video if I ever get back on the subject in the future. But anyways, I just wanted to share. I've shot Winchester white box. I've shot, you know, Remington, all types of 223. Most of that stuff's just fine. I will say that Federal kind of is my favorite go-to ammo if I'm buying the more generic or the more known brands out there. But really, truly, the match reloads that I was making is the most accurate. Uh, and I have an example here when I had a Savage Axis right here, shoot that group, that 3-shot group, and then here's the Mossberg with the same Perfecta ammo. I'm using Perfecta, which is a Fiocchi, makes it, and then a Sig Sauer M400 AR-15 shot that group. So, it shot the tightest out of those, but like I said, this isn't a true match rifle. It's a target rifle, but it's a $650 or $700 gun when I bought it. It wasn't, something that was 600 or 700 just on the barrel and then another 1,000 for the rifle. This is more of a plinker or just a match, you know, just an accurate target rifle. It's not necessarily. I have to use that word match with kind of with ease or slack here because I wouldn't ever go to a match competition with this rifle unless I just found the perfect load and it was just hitting .3-inch groups or smaller every time. So then you might have something there. I'm sure it's capable of doing it, but I just want to show you guys this last target. This here is with a CZ 457 American in 22 long rifle. And this was 100 yards. Yeah, keep in mind, you guys, all these targets are 100 yards. I should have said that earlier, but this gun, if you look at this group right here, you guys, that's 5 shots, and that's .5 MOA, point, .25, I'm sorry, .25. It's quarter-inch groups at 100 yards. I mean, this is just excellent. And I mean, it was doing stuff like this with standard velocity. So even a 22 actually can outperform a 223 out of a CZ 457. Just something to think about. It's just a 22, but it's still cranking out of there at, 1150 or 1200 feet per second. Now, with this long barrel, I bet my match grade stuff is doing 2,280 to 3,280 to 3,320 feet per second. That's probably what I'm getting out of that stuff. So it's definitely powerful. It's more of a hunting or you know, a caliber with some more power to it. I like to have my ammunition loaded in a way that it's multi-purpose. If I wanted to use it for hunting or self-defense or whatever. But I have some hotter stuff too, some hotter 5.56 that I've loaded up that is a 55 grain doing closer to 2,400. But I don't recommend that. It's just I have done stuff like that. Now, I'll go ahead and conclude. The only thing that I have to say about this rifle that I really don't like, there's plastic on the inside of it, plastic trigger well right there. There's just a few areas that I wish they would have spent the money to use metal. I mean, this is an American-made rifle, you know, and I'm pretty sure the little top mounts, the Weaver style mounts up here are aluminum, but I'm using steel rings. But I wish they would have made those steel. Even though it's a 5.56, it really could have used steel rings. They do put a nice little thumb safety on the back here that I have no problem with. I don't really use it unless I'm hunting. Uh, I have killed a deer with this rifle. I'll mention that. I shot a doe in the head with it and had about 70 pounds of meat. So the doe hit the ground, never felt a thing, never knew what happened. It was a good headshot. That's the best way to take a deer, the most humane way to take a deer, to shoot it. It's chewing its grass, it's looking around, and then it's just gone, never felt any pain. So I do believe in headshots when I hunt, but you better believe I do my time on the range and I know exactly what ammo I'm bringing to the table. I've never missed a deer, so not with a scoped rifle, not at all. Uh, anyways, well, let's go ahead and move on to the second portion of this video. Uh, you guys, I'm aware that last Sunday was Resurrection Sunday, which was just a few days back. It's only Wednesday, so I wanted to share a few scriptures from the Word today. And, the resurrection is such a profound and important teaching to the Christian message. Paul really, he makes it clear, for if Christ was not raised, your hope, your faith is in vain. But I would like to shed some light on some Old Testament passages concerning the resurrection before we really had the full picture. Because in the book of Job, in his turmoil and in his struggle, when all this evil has befallen him, because God gave Satan authority to do so, but said not to harm one hair on his head, right? God gave Satan authority to do these things. He knew his servant would stand strong from the beginning. And although Job started out with a rough start with family members, children that possibly were cursing God in their hearts, and this man is righteous, arising, offering sacrifice, and then God looked upon the situation, and in the end, he's blessed all the more. And that's what I see. He didn't have the best children because a man just doesn't rise up early in the morning to make sacrifice for their sons, saying perhaps they've cursed God in their hearts. He probably really didn't have the best family. Now, I'm just speculating, of course, but ultimately, God blessed this man with twice the substance and the most beautiful daughters in the land, and he was a very blessed man. And he got the book of Job. But in the suffering, and when we look at wisdom literature and when we look back at things like this, it's very interesting because today we're talking about the resurrection. Now, I'm going to be in Job chapter 14 to start off here, and I'm going to be reading verse 1 through 15. Job says, Man who is born of woman is short lived and full of turmoil. Like a flower, he comes forth and withers. He also flees like a shadow and does not remain. You also open your eyes on him and bring him into judgment with yourself. Who can make the clean out of the unclean? No one. Since his days are determined, since the numbers of his months is with you, and his limits you have set so he cannot pass. Turn your gaze from him that he may rest until he fulfills his days, like a hired man. For there is hope for a tree when it is cut down, that it will sprout again, and its shoots will not fail, though its roots grow old in the ground, and its stump dies in the dry soil. At the scent of water it will flourish, and put forth springs like a plant. But man dies and lies prostrate. Man expires, and where is he? As water evaporates from the sea, and a river becomes parched and dried up, so man lies down and does not rise. Until the heavens are no longer, he will not awake nor be aroused out of his sleep. Oh, that you would hide me in Sheol, that you would conceal me until your wrath returns to you, that you would set a limit for me and remember me. If man dies, will he live again? All the days of my struggle I will wait until my change comes. You will call and I will answer you. You will long for the work of your hands. That's the end of verse 15. There's lots of notable things I could mention, and I will briefly. Verse 5, Since his days are determined, and the number of his months is with you. that omniscience of God, having determined the days of man. Now let's go ahead and look at verse 14. If a man dies, will he live again? All the days of my struggle I will wait until my change comes. He knew about the resurrection until his change comes. You will call, I will answer you. You will long for the work of your hands. It's just really fascinating. Uh, hmm. Now we're going to skip to Job chapter 19, and we're going to read verses 23 through 27. Job chapter 19, verse 23. Oh, that my words were written. Oh, that they were inscribed in a book. Now, keep in mind, I have to speak. Job, he desired this. He did not know the book of Job would be recorded. I'm not sure if he had a scribe write it or how it came to be, but this is the truth, and it's his account of the truth, the book of Job. Oh, that my words were written. Oh, that they were inscribed in a book, that with an iron stylus and lead they were engraved in the rock forever. As for me, I know that my Redeemer lives, and at the last he will take his stand on the earth. Even after my skin is destroyed, yet from my flesh I shall see God, whom I myself shall behold, and whom my eyes will see, and not another. I'm going to stop right there. Job was very confident that he would see his Maker on the last day, even after my skin is destroyed. Yet from my flesh, in his flesh, being resurrected or called forth at the last, in a body, whom I myself shall behold, and whom my eyes will see, and not another. Now we're going to skip to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. We're going to talk about this new resurrected body, because Christ paid the price for our sins. He died in our place for us to taste death once and for all for every man. And if the power of the Most High is in you because you've been cleansed by the blood of Christ, we too have that confidence that we will be raised on the last day, just as Job did before he even knew how, before he even knew Christ or the full works of God. It's almost like prophecy, right? Job knew these things by the Spirit of God. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, we're going to look at verses 35 through 49. 1 Corinthians 15, starting in verse 45. Paul says, "But someone will say, how are the dead raised? And with what kind of body do they come? You fool." Look at the language here. You fool. Paul. That which you sow does not come to life unless it dies, and that which you sow, you do not sow the body which is to be, but a bare grain, perhaps of wheat or something else. But God gives it a body just as he wishes, and to each of the seeds a body of its own. All flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, and another flesh of birds, and another of fish. There's also heavenly bodies and earthly bodies, but the glory of the heavenly is one, and the glory of the earthly is another. There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars, for star differs from star in glory. And I'm going to read through verse 49. Starting in verse 42 here. So also, the very next verse, so also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in a perishable body. It is raised an imperishable body. It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power. It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. If there is a natural body, there is also a spiritual body. So also it is written, the first man Adam became a living soul. The last Adam became a life-giving spirit. However, the spiritual is not first, but the natural, then the spiritual. Verse 47, the first man is from the earth, earthly. The second is from heaven. As is the earthly, so also are those who are earthly. As is the heavenly, so also are those who are heavenly. Just as we have but borne the image of the earthly, we will also bear the image of the heavenly. And, I realize what you're thinking just on that last verse. We are created in the image of likeness and the likeness of God. That's what Genesis teaches us. Uh, and there's a lot more to that image. A lot of people preach on that. Also, the spiritual aspects of God were formed like Him, to be like Him, right? But we're talking about the physical body in this sense now. If we bear the image of the earthly, we will also bear the image of the heavenly. So we have these heavenly, incorruptible bodies. And I've heard people that have had heavenly experience talk about this. It's almost like we will be resurrected in the flower of our youth, with vigor in our eye, to live for all eternity with Christ. And that's the promise of life we have in Him. So, you guys, I just wanted to share those words with you. Job knew it. It's pretty incredible. Uh, yeah, that's ear has not heard, eye has not seen the things that God has prepared for those who love Him. He is able to do exceedingly and abundantly beyond all that which we ask or think. And that is the truth. Amen. So, you guys don't be afraid to pick up a Mossberg MVP. Pretty decent rifles if you find a used one for a good price. Of course, I wanted the target model. Is it a true, target competition rifle? No, but it's pretty accurate. And for the most part, it's well made. And it's a true free floated barrel and it's very stable. The barrels are pretty decent. With the right ammo, you will get uh, point 0.3 or point or half inch, 0.5 inch groups at 100 yards with the right ammo. But anyways, until next time, you guys stay blessed and feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and ask questions if you like. I'll do my best to get back to you. Y'all have a good day. Thanks for watching.